So this right here is just a little piece of my entire physical media collection, pieces that I've been collecting and curating over the years. And as you guys could see, there's a massive variety on here. We got Blu-rays, we got my horror movie collections, my video games, which incidentally is what this video is about. We're going to talk about that momentarily. But as you guys could see, massive collection, and I don't want to spend too much time dissecting every little thing, but as you guys could see, there is a lot of color, a lot of variety on here, and each one of these pieces has a story to it and is really important to me on a personal level. So right over here at the top, we got some of my favorite manga, a really rare piece called Elfen Lied, which took years to officially be translated. We got Attack on Titan, which took the anime world by storm, and I've been reading this pretty much since the first season came out, and I was getting new volumes every 5-6 months as they came out. Can't describe the joy to you going to Barnes & Noble's, picking up the latest volume, and waiting for it months at a time until it finally comes out. There's just something special about that. We got my little horror movie collection here on Blu-ray, Friday the 13th, Halloween, which some of these pieces are already discontinued. Can't even get these anymore. You got Dragon Ball Z on Blu-ray, Smallville, Dexter, some of my favorite shows of all time. One Tree Hill on DVD because I don't think they ever actually remastered it on Blu-ray. Battlestar Galactica, another underrated sci-fi gems. Now we got some of my favorite anime series here, some miscellaneous stuff such as Batman the Animated Series, Power Rangers, and more manga box sets, Death Note being one of my favorites. We got Akira, which was a popular movie in the 80s that only adapted a little bit of the story. You got the entire box set right over here. Some of my Nintendo Switch games, which I really enjoy playing, the Pokemon manga, and over here we got some horror manga, which I really like, such as Devilman. They based that Devilman Crybaby on Netflix from this manga right here. It was written in the 80s. We got The Drifting Classroom, a little bit of Junji Ito, which I was reading, by the way, before he got popular. As you guys could see up here, I got the entire Junji Ito collection. I've been a huge fan, but lately he's just really blown up. And that brings us to the section of this video in particular. As you guys could see, these are my PlayStation 4 games. And it's funny because this video is talking specifically about the PS5. And check this out, guys. Literally only 2 PS5 titles. And both of them happen to be remasters of older games. Persona being a remaster of a PS3 game, and the other game here, Crisis Core, being a remaster of a PSP game. So I don't actually have any brand new PS5 games that came out specifically for the PS5. That tells you everything you need to know. Finishing up the collection, like I said, Junji Ito, some miscellaneous wrestling stuff on here, and some of my favorite young adult novels over here, Lois Duncan, The Uglies, and a couple of other ones. We got a whole other big section that I'm not going to be showing today. Maybe I will in a future video. Let me know, guys, in the comments down below if you're interested. But this collection here brings me so much joy just looking at it, just remembering where I was in my life at any single given point when I picked up these pieces. And there is something special about having a physical collection as opposed to everything being digital. But that is not the entire point of this video. We're going to break it down and we're going to talk about it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Ace After Dark, even though it's technically light outside and a beautiful hot summer day. Anyway, as you guys saw on that little intro video that I showed, you guys saw I had a massive physical collection, and that is only a tiny part, by the way. There's a whole other physical collection I have that's literally in the other room with a lot more graphic novels from DC, more manga, more Blu-rays, more box sets. I have so much, and maybe one day if you guys are interested, drop a comment, let me know. Maybe one day I will actually do an entire showcase of my collection. I'll be honest, I was planning on recording this video here a while back when the news first dropped about Sony discontinuing physical media. I was planning on releasing this video a while back, but the last week and a half, 2 weeks have been so crazy for me. I've been so busy at home, and I'm in the process of remodeling one of my rooms, the former HiStim Ace studio that I used to use for my main channel, HiStim Ace. So it's been a little crazy, and I have just a bunch of boxes in there in storage, and it's not even a proper place to record a video anymore. I'm still trying to get rid of all my pre-workout tubs and everything I have there. So long story short, I'm recording in the car again, and I really did want to come on and show you guys more of my actual pieces, my PlayStation 1 games, some rare pieces, some game guides I have. I literally have my World of Warcraft boxes from back when I went to midnight launches at GameStop in 2006 for World of of Warcraft, The Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King. I think it was in 2007 or '08. I don't remember exactly what year. I still have the physical boxes that have the 4 or 5 discs inside, speaking of physical media, right? And with the booklets and the manuals and everything. And you just look back at that time period, the late 90s, but specifically the early to mid 2000s when I was coming up and when I was really into gaming more than anything else. Every video game you bought, whether it was PS2, whether it was on PC, they all came with manuals first and foremost, right? And full color manuals to boot. It wasn't just like a little booklet like the PS3 era and the Xbox. I think the 360 era actually still had manuals until the later bit, but my point is that when you bought a game for $49.99, which is how much a brand new game would cost at GameStop right here in Brooklyn, New York, you would get a full manual with color that I would actually like reading. You know, I would actually like reading those manuals on my free time while I was laying in bed, or, you know, while I was in the bathroom before smartphones were a thing, right? We used to read manuals and stuff like that in magazines back then. So I used to love reading those manuals, and it's something that is missing today. Everything's becoming digital, and I'm not somebody that's against digital. I literally play Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. That's one of my favorite games of all time. I spend money on that game. It's a digital game, and I'm very well aware of the fact that one day the servers may die and the game may discontinue, and I'm okay with that. So I'm coming on here, and I'm not trying to go on a rant, an old man rant, and saying, oh, back in my day we had physical media and Sony is evil and they're discontinuing it and I'm against progress. No, I'm not saying that, but I'm going to make my case as to why I think Sony are scum and why the consumer, us, the gamers, are getting screwed over here. So first and foremost, the people that are saying, this is a pet peeve of mine, okay? You can be for digital, you can have massive digital libraries. I have my digital library on Steam as well, but that's a whole other topic. But you can have your digital library and still not be against physical. I hate these people that they have this mindset like, oh, this is the wave of the future and you have to evolve or perish. No, F that. There is a whole market for things that are antiques, things that are considered old. I'm literally trying to buy a CRT TV right now for vintage gaming, and they're going for like $300, okay? And I'm trying my best to find one for like $150, $200, but it's not easy. And that's something you used to be able to get back in the day for $25, $30 in a yard sale. Try looking up a CRT TV right now, especially one from Sony or Panasonic that's actually in semi-decent condition. You're going to see prices you wouldn't even imagine, all right? So my point is, there has been and always will be a market for these things from 15, 20 years ago, from our childhood, or from whatever childhood, whatever era, whatever generation you come from. There's always going to be a market for those things. People are going to want to get books from the 1970s, the 1980s. I have my original Lois Duncan books, which were written in the 80s and 90s, and they got reprinted in 2014 and modernized for the modern era. But you know what? I still like reading those original Lois Duncan books, or Fear Street from the 1990s, which also got the modern treatment. But I was reading those books from 1996, 97, or whenever they came out. I was a kid reading those books, and I still have my original ones with the original cover art, same as Goosebumps. Man, nothing touches the OG. But my point is that there are these people that are always going to come and say, oh, you're against progress. What progress are we talking about over here? Making everything all digital? You consider that progress? Is that really progress? I don't view it as progress. I view it as regression. I view it as giving the corporation, in this case Sony and also Xbox, because we're going to touch on Xbox also. They're not innocent. They're not off the hook here. We're going to touch on Xbox as well. But in this case, this ain't no progress, because this does not benefit the gamers. This does not benefit the consumers. And that's why there's such a big backlash about it. Even a lot of these left-leaning shill companies like Kotaku or IGN or GameSpot, which, you know, these companies are always going to shill for the developers and for Sony because they're always given the early release copies and they're always shilling for them. We know that. Even they're coming out against Sony here and saying that this move here to discontinue physical media is a travesty. And rightfully so, because it is a travesty. Think about it this way. If you guys go on the PlayStation Store right now, the Sony Store, whatever, the online PlayStation 5 store, look at games that even came out a year ago. If you want to get the newest NBA game, 2K26, right? Which I'm sure there's a new one coming out really soon already, right? They're always a couple of months ahead of the curve. The game is literally $69.99 on the PlayStation Store. Do you know how much it costs on Amazon? $30. Okay? $30 for the exact same game with a disc. I mean, you're not getting the manual anymore. That's been long discontinued. And over the years, they've been stripping away bits and pieces. I can show you my PS1 games that literally came with 4 discs included. You look at games like Final Fantasy VIII that had 4 discs and a beautiful manual that really broke things down. They put thought and effort into it. Everything was quality. Not like today. Today, it's become a business. Everything is just a business, all about making a quick buck. Buy my game for $69.99, and don't you dare forget about the yearly Game Pass and the DLC and everything. You're going to end up spending $150 only for them to make another game in a year to override it. You know, it really pisses me off. Gaming has become a business, and I get that it's always been a business, but it wasn't on the corporate scale that it is now, and Sony is taking such massive advantage of it right now. They are screwing the players. So if I want to buy a game on Amazon, I'm not going to have that option anymore. I'm not going to have the option of going on eBay and looking for something a little bit cheaper. I'm going to have to buy it from the Sony store because they're going to be the exclusive distributor of whatever game comes out after 2028, because that's what they said is going to happen. In 2028 and onwards, they're going to discontinue physical media. The next PlayStation's not even going to have a disc drive, okay? So you literally are stuck buying digital. You're stuck buying just from Sony, and you're going to pay them whatever they charge you because there's nowhere else to get it. There's no competition, right? So when I was coming up, we had GameStop, and we also had EB Games, which later got bought out by GameStop. I think in Canada, it's the other way around. EB Games actually bought out GameStop. I don't really understand the logistics, but here in Brooklyn, we had GameStop and we had EB Games, and they constantly competed with one another. So if a new game came out on the PS2 that was $49.99, a lot of times at EB Games, it was $44.99. Even if they were taking a loss, they would list it for $5 less, so you would go to EB Games and buy it. And you know what? It worked in their favor for a little while. But we lived in a capitalist society. We still live in a capitalist society, and competition is a good thing. It brings about innovation. It makes you want to do something better than your competitor, and it's consumer friendly, right? If I have a physical game right now and I have a massive collection, and let's say I want to sell one of my games, right? Let's say I want to sell one of my games for whatever reason. I need the money, I don't want the game anymore, I beat it and I'm never going to play it, whatever the reason. I can go on eBay, I can put up my game, I can charge whatever the market value is, and I could sell my game, and someone else can get a game that's going to cost them half the price. You're not able to do that anymore because you're going to have to buy your games digitally from the PSN store. So that is the first thing. And again, going back to the people that are so pro-digital and pro-evolution and pro the future, and oh, you guys are relics, you're stuck in your ways, it's time for evolution. What kind of evolution are we talking about? If your account gets shut down for whatever reason, let's say you're playing Call of Duty online and you make a stupid joke that they misinterpret as hate speech or whatever. You guys know what I'm talking about, the old Call of Duty lobbies back in the day. Things got a little crazy back in those days. So imagine you're in a lobby, you're playing the newest Call of Duty that you paid $79.99 for, plus the season pass, plus the DLC, plus all that stuff, and for whatever reason, maybe you make a stupid joke that's a little insensitive or whatever. Guess what? They ban your entire account. And let's say you have 20, 30, 40 games attached to that account that you bought digitally. Guess what, guys? Your games are null and void and forever gone. There's nothing you can do about it. They are gone forever. Anything that was connected with that account, with that email, it is gone. So go ahead, try contacting Sony customer service. Believe me, it ain't so easy. I bought a game digitally that ended up being a bug-infested mess, and I literally had to go through hoops to get them to refund the game, which, by the way, was $14.99, okay? It was one of the Street Fighter collection games, the old Street Fighter games. The thing was a buggy mess, and there was no patch for it whatsoever. So for me to get a refund, I literally had to go on a soliloquy and tell them that I've been with them since the PS1 days and that I've been a loyal customer, and I had to go through so many hoops just to get that $14.99 refund. It wasn't even worth it, honestly, but I did it and I got my refund. And they said never again. It's a one-time courtesy that they'll do. So my point is, you are not even in control. You are spending the same amount of money that you would spend on a physical game that you can touch, that you can feel, that you can look at, that you can hold in your hand, that you can trade with someone, that you can sell to someone. You can have that same exact game. But now you're not getting any of that. You're getting a digital license to play the game until they decide that they want to pull it from the store, or for whatever reason your account may be compromised, you may be locked out or whatever, and then you don't have access to your game. Get bent. So that's pretty much the main issue that I have with Sony, that crazy greed that they have right now. And here's the thing, I would make an excuse for them if they went down this route and they said, listen, we are trying to be green, we're trying to be eco-friendly, whatever BS they're going to spew, and they're going to say, because we're saving so much money right now, we don't have to manufacture discs and cases, and we don't have to ship it out to stores and pay for shipping. We're saving a lot of money as a company, so we're going to pass the savings on to you, the consumer, as an act of goodwill. Yeah, right. They're not passing anything on to us. They're still going to charge you $69.99 or whatever deluxe edition they're going to charge you for. They're going to charge you the exact same amount, and you're not getting a fraction of what you got before. So you people that are there and you're talking about digital being the future and that we are relics of the past and we need to get on with the times, explain to me logically. Leave a comment down below. Explain to me logically why that is a good move. I'm not saying digital shouldn't exist. I'm not saying that physical should be the only form, but give us a choice. I want physical games. I like physical games. The only time I go for digital is if there is no physical option. I'll give you an example. There are ways to do it right. And again, I'm not some ignorant relic that's in the way of digital. I'm okay with digital if it's done right. So a recent example, for the 35th year anniversary for Pokemon, I think it was just the 35-year anniversary, or 30-year anniversary, I don't even know, whatever. But they re-released Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, which both came out in 2004, my childhood, two of my favorite games, the best remakes ever, and they re-released them on the Nintendo Switch, and they charged $20 each, which, by the way, a lot of people were very against it, and people were going crazy over it. They were saying, how dare they charge $20 for games that are 20-something years old? And I'm thinking, you are literally getting a game right now for $20 that you're going to easily put 50 hours into, that you can play local multiplayer, you could trade locally on this game, right? It may not have the online features, but me and my girl played locally, we traded, we had a lot of fun playing Fire Red and Leaf Green, and you're paying $20, which is a fraction of what it's worth, because these games are so rare right now that if you try getting a legitimate copy on eBay, or you're going online, or if you go to like one of these retro shops, you're going to pay an arm and a leg for one of these Pokemon games. Just look it up. You're going to pay at least $100 for Fire Red or Leaf Green. So my point is that in this instance, this was digital done right, because I don't want to go ahead and buy a Game Boy Advance and buy the cartridge and spend $300 to play that game when I could spend $20 and pay the game. That is the way to do it. That's the way you do digital, but not this way where you're coming up with these draconian methods and you're going to lock people out, and we're not doing physical medias anymore, and oh, no more collector's editions for you guys that care about collector's editions and getting something you can cherish and pass on to your kids and be proud of and display on your shelves. No, you can get a digital collector's edition. What the hell is even a digital collector's edition? What does that even mean? You have a digital statue in the game? That's not a collector's edition. That's insanity. That is cope to the max. And people are going to buy it hook, line, and sinker because people are suckers. People will take what Sony gives them and they're going to say, please, sir, may I have some more? Because that's the way people are. They're pathetic, they have no spine, and they do not stand by their convictions. Now, enough ranting about Sony. I want to talk about Xbox for a second, okay? Because Xbox had such an opportunity here. They literally had the opportunity of a lifetime, and they blew it because of their greed. All Xbox had to do, and you guys know Xbox have been dealing with a lot of financial issues over the past couple of years. They just laid off a bunch of employees, and they've been dealing with a lot of issues to the point that I think they might actually be done as a brand. All Xbox had to do was come out with a statement 2-3 days after Sony made their statement. They had to come out and say, we here at Xbox believe that physical media is something that consumers care about, and unlike our competitors, we are committed to physical media for the next generation to run alongside digital. That's all they had to say. They would have gotten so much goodwill, so much, and people like myself, out of principle, would have bought the next Xbox just to show them that, you know what, I support that decision and I will spend my hard-earned money supporting you, even though I've been a Sony fanboy since the PS1 days. That's all they had to do. But what do? Because they are ran by corporate overlords and shareholders and stockholders, you know, it's no longer about gaming, it's all a business. And again, I know this has always been a business, I get it, but there has to be a balance. How much money can you have? How much can you squeeze the consumers out of juice before you're satisfied? This is greed, and it's disgusting. And Xbox are stupid, and they deserve everything that's coming to them, because if they would have been smart, they would have made that statement, they would have shown solidarity, and they would have gotten so much goodwill, so much goodwill. If you guys remember, a bunch of years ago, I think when it was the 360 or the Xbox One, I forgot which one it was. Before they released the console, they were gonna go with this crazy draconian DRM authentication, where your game would only have to be online the entire time, and you wouldn't be able to share it with people. It never ended up happening, obviously, but the opposite scenario happened. Sony came out and literally mocked them for it in a very short video, and they said, oh, here's how we trade games here at Sony, and it showed one person handing a disc over to the other person. The roles would have literally been reversed here. All Xbox had to do was make that statement, commit to physical games, and they would have won the next console generations. I do not doubt it for a second. But again, corporate shareholders don't think like that. They don't think outside of the box. They just look at raw data and what can get me profit right now, at this very moment, the fastest. I'm not going to think about the future. I'm not going to think about the long-term plan. I'm going to think what's trending right now and what's going to make me the most money right now for this quarter, because that's how they ran. They ran for about quarterly profits. That's how they're ran. So that's what it is. And the PS5 will be my last console. That's going to be my last console, and I'm okay with it, because as you guys saw in the very beginning, the little clip I showed you, all the games I have are PS4 games, and there's plenty I haven't played. I'm 36 years old now. I'm not a gamer like I used to be. I play a couple hours a week max, maybe 2-3 hours on a weekend. I don't have the time to game as much as I did, but I'm always going to be a gamer. I'm always going to find time for it. Instead of watching a show or a movie to unwind, I will play a game. I love my JRPGs. I love my story-driven games. And there's still plenty of games I didn't play. I haven't even played the Nier Automata games yet for the PS4, and I have a massive PS4 backlog, which realistically is probably going to take me at least another 10 years to get through. Not to mention all the retro games I have, my PS1, my PS2 games, and a lot of games I have on my computer, on my emulators. So I'm set for life. Honestly, new games don't even do it for me. There's no AAA title that interests me in this day and age. Everything feels so soulless and corporate and over the top, action-oriented, and they try to be cinematic. I'm not a fan of it, guys. I'm just not a fan of the direction that gaming went. I love the PS1 and PS2 era, and even I would say the PS3 era. PS4 was the last good console that had unique games that really were interesting. Deus Ex Human Revolution, Deus Ex Mankind Divided, and The Witcher. Those were really awesome games, and a whole lot of other games, obviously. I'm a big fan of JRPGs, story-driven games, Persona, you know, that type of stuff. I'm very into storytelling and characters above all else. So, you know what? I don't want to say that I outgrew the hobby. I want to say that the hobby has chosen to go in a different direction and no longer represents my interests. So the PS5 will be my last console. I also use it as a Blu-ray player because I have a massive Blu-ray collection. So I need to have a Blu-ray player. So if the next PlayStation's not even going to have a Blu-ray disc drive, how am I going to watch all my Blu-rays? How am I going to watch Halloween and Friday the 13th and Battlestar Galactica and Smallville and all the other amazing Blu-ray series that I have? So that's another thing to think about. You know, Sony literally invented the Blu-ray, but yet they're not going to release Blu-ray or any discs anymore. It makes no freaking sense. And people that say games are too big, that's an excuse, guys. You literally look at games back in the day, it came with 3-4 discs. The Mass Effect Legendary Collection that came out on the PS3, PS4 era, PS4, it was 2 discs, okay? And that's 3 games, 3 modern games. So there's no excuses, guys. There's no excuses. You can release it on 2-3 Blu-ray discs. There's no excuses. But they're going the predictable route. It's what's going to make the money fast. And people are revolting right now. They're protesting for a little bit, but these people are going to come back around because people don't know how to stick up to their principles. And it's sad, but that's the world we live in. Corporations run everything and rule everything, but PS5 will be my last system, and again, I'm not worried because I have so many games to play. Going back to my PS1 games, there's still a lot of games I haven't even played on my PS4, and I don't actually own one single PS5 game that natively came out for the PS5. I'm not interested in it. Everything today has a message, an agenda, and they're trying to put a personal spin on it. I'm not interested, guys. Call me old, call me outdated, but try to prove me wrong. You will not be able to.